Welcome to Dicta, your weekly dose of law school and bar exam info. I'm Carrie Ann.
And I'm Puyan, and we're the co-founders of Vinco. So this week, we're going to be discussing Professor Stout's experiences dealing with students in a law school setting. Specifically in the academic support department, right? So I would ask, what is the most important skill that students should acquire during law school that could help them during the bar exam?
I have to just pick one?
Pick one.
Pick one. Okay. If I had to pick one, it would be the ability to IRAC a final exam answer or a bar exam essay properly.
So what is IRAC?
IRAC is a form of writing for final exams and the bar exam. It's the way your professors want most essays to be written. Now, you always have one or two professors out there who want something different. I can't account for them, but this is the standard format for writing.
I had a professor who wanted crack.
Yes, that's always a fun one. So that is, well, let's go through IRAC first, and then I'll explain that one. So IRAC stands for 4 parts of an essay answer. It starts with the issue, which is just the problem. What's the question you're going to be answering? That's where you're setting the grader up, your professor, for what you're going to talk about. The rule section is what is the rule? What are the rules that you're going to use to write your answer? All of the rules, they go in one section. What are they? The application or analysis section is where you take the facts from the fact pattern of your exam answer and you apply them to the rule that you laid out in the rule section. So this is the part where you're applying fact to law, connecting fact to law. And then the conclusion is where you tell the grader how this fact pattern should turn out, right? So if it's negligence, should there be negligence found here or not? So those are the basic parts and the basic structure. What Puyan was saying about crack is some professors want you to start off with the conclusion and end with the conclusion. So you get the extra C on the top.
Yeah, and they do that sometimes because like the issue and the conclusion can kind of be combined to an extent. I mean, would you agree with that?
I mean, I could talk about this for hours. I prefer IRAC to CRAC because I think when you put your conclusion first, you can potentially skip steps in your analysis section. So if you're not going to skip steps, I don't care what you put first. But if it's going to screw you up, I always want you to start with a question, because if you're answering a question, you're more likely to systematically take it step by step and tell me everything I need to know.
So I know before you told me that one of the biggest reasons you see some students fail the bar exam is because they never really fine-tuned their ability to IRAC during their 3 years of law school, even though they may have, for example, been on law review and could really write quite articulately, but they never learned the system for IRACing, which is a particular way of thinking.
Yeah, it is a system. So IRACing is not writing. You can be a beautiful writer, an English major. English majors have the hardest time IRACing. But IRACing is its own thing. So I'm never trying to tell my students or anyone that they can't write. Everyone can write. That's not the issue. The issue is IRACing, submitting to this format and saying, I don't get it, I don't like it, but I'm going to do it because that's what's expected of me.
So what's the biggest problem you see with that?
So the biggest issue in IRAC, and this can be very person specific, but generally overall is issues with the analysis section and the application section.
So why is that section the biggest issue for you? Well, issue, let's stop using the word issue, but why is that section so particularly important?
Because
as a grader.
Yeah, well, that's where all the points are. That's where all your points are on the final exam. That's where all the points are on the bar exam. Now, you have to think of it this way. Your professor or someone grading the bar exam is sitting there with a rubric that has, do they have this sentence or something like it? 1 point, and so on and so forth. Now, imagine that it's broken down into IRAC format. The A section is where most of your points will be. Definitely need to know the law, but that's a gimme. Everyone needs to know the law, and everyone in your class is capable of knowing the law. That's not the hard part. The hard part is in the analysis section where it's, how do I apply it? What, in this new fact pattern, how does this rule play out in a new set of facts. That's where you're showing your professor that you've been paying attention all semester,
right,
and that you understand how to do that.
Exactly. Not that just you've memorized the rule, but you understand how to apply it to a specific set of facts, which is really what being a lawyer is all about.
That's what we're here to do.
So,
yeah.
Which is exactly why it's tested on the bar exam.
Yeah.
So what do you think, so given the fact that the analysis is the most important section in the IRACing process, what do you think students can do to improve their analysis if they're not doing as well in the beginning?
So it, again, depends specifically on what that student's problem is, but there are two main things that I see coming up a lot. One is that you're just summarizing facts in the analysis section, and two is that you're making conclusions and not actually applying.
I see. So people are not taking the rules and applying it to the specific facts.
Right. Or vice versa, applying the facts to the specific rule.
Yeah. So what do? They just restate things that are obvious without extrapolating further?
Well, not even necessarily obvious. It's just they know what facts are important and what facts go to the rule, so they restate those facts where the analysis belongs and don't necessarily connect it to the law.
Oh,
so there's
I see.
a disconnect.
And do you think a student could improve this skill in a reasonable amount of time?
I should just quit and stay home all the time if I didn't think that. So
I mean, like, in your experience, do people recover from this inability to IRAC? I mean, you've seen people who've gone through 3 years of law school who learned how to IRAC studying for the bar exam.
Yes, I mean, it's a skill. That's the thing. It's just a very specific skill. I think it's totally doable, but you have to recognize that it's something you currently aren't doing, understand why it's so important to do it, and be willing to be teachable and take the constructive criticism and learn how to do this skill. So without all of those things, you're not going to learn it. But if so those things are present,
be amenable to change.
Yeah, I've recently picked up saying this will only work if you do. That's my new go-to phrase. And seriously, I can teach it to you till I'm blue in the face, but you have to practice.
Yep. So, is there anything else you'd like to add? We really covered a lot, I think.
Yeah, I mean those are all the main points of IRAC, and what's we answered the question of what's the biggest thing that I see. But if this is something that you feel like you're struggling with, I truly advise you to get help with this sooner rather than later, no matter what point you're at in your law school career. And if this is something I can help you with, you should join the VinCo Facebook group and connect with us in there, because that's what I do. I'm in there every day answering questions. Or you can email me, Carrie-Ann at vincoprep.com.